Hello everyone. So I'm going to tell you why you don't feel so good. And I'm going to tell you why you don't feel so good physically in your body, mentally in your body. This is the truth and I want to share it with you. So have you guys ever seen that experiment by Dr. Emoto where he put the intention in the water and how it changed the water? So they viewed it beforehand, saw what it looked like, put intention, which is just thought. So let's say that they're putting the intention of peace or love in there, then they're just thinking peaceful, loving thoughts, and they're holding, that intention over that water. Then they view it again and look how it's so changed from what it began to what it became. You cannot escape your thinking. You are made of almost all water. So the thoughts that you hold manifest and live inside of your body. So do you want polluted and contaminated thoughts inside your body? Or do you want beautiful, loving thoughts inside your body? Now, you all know somebody who has those polluted thoughts in their body. You can tell by looking at them. You can physically see it in someone's body. You can see the way that they think, depending on what they look like. You can see physically in people changes occur when they change the way that they think. So I've had clients who've had fibromyalgia, who have had serious diseases inside of their body, who have had arthritis, just different various issues with certain body parts. Now, here's the issue with this. Why do they have these issues in the first place? It all has to do with the way that you're thinking. So I've seen these patterns over the last 9 years of my work, and I'm really good at patterns because I'm actually a genius. So when I noticed these patterns, I thought, how do more people not know about this? How do more people not know about this? So when I'm working with someone, I will take whatever feeling that they have that they don't want, or maybe a feeling that they do want, but let's go with the example of the one they don't want. I'll have them feel it when they're in a subconscious state. So I will get their brain into theta state, which we do just through relaxation or whatever other techniques that we're doing. And then I will have them feel that feeling that they have. So the negative feeling, I'll have them bring it up. And then we'll follow it back to where it very first began. Now, here's the interesting thing about it, that you're going to notice these patterns. When I say to someone, I want you to bring up that feeling of being depressed, they'll bring it up and I'll say, okay, tell me where you physically feel it in your body. Now, each person is different. There's no correct answer. So I'll say, where do you physically feel this in your body? And they will tell me, oh, it's, in my chest and my shoulder and my finger and my ankle, or wherever they'd say. Like I said, different for everybody. Here's the problem with this. When we take that feeling and we physically feel it in our body, if you are in that state for any amount of time regularly, what you're actually doing, let's say that was the chest, the shoulder, the finger, the ankle, every time that you think that depressing thought, right? Because when I got them into state, the only way that they could bring up the depressing thought, the depressing feeling, was by associating it with a thought. So they had to think of something that would make them feel depressed. So now every time that they think about this thought that's making them depressed, they're affecting their chest and their shoulder and their finger and their ankle and all of these places. And the energy that is supposed to be in the chest, in the shoulder, in the finger, and the ankle is now being depleted. It's being wasted. And so then depressed people wonder why they're so tired all the time. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly why. We have this much energy. You wake up with it every morning. You get this much. We all get the same. But what happens is the way that we think affects the amount of energy that we have in a day. So when you wake up in the morning and you're thinking something negative, like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Very first negative thought of the day. Well, we know from that water experiment that negative thought, that negative vibration is manifesting inside your body. So if you start your day off that way, not a very good start. Now, what happens is you go throughout the day, you're thinking, oh, I hope she doesn't show up to work today. I hope that this doesn't, and you think about all of the negative. I hope this doesn't happen. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that. How much of that energy that you have is being wasted on negative thoughts? Not only that, not only just the I don't want to, what about the negative things about yourself of, oh, I shouldn't have said that, that was stupid, or maybe you worry your energy away. So let's say that you got this much and you spend this much of it, we got this much total, you spend this much of it worrying, stressed, thinking negative things about yourself, thinking negative things about other people, not wanting to do things, kind of resisting what you have to do in a day. Well, what happens? You're only left with this much energy to work with in a day. And you're like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. I don't know why I'm so tired all the time. This is why. This is why. So what I help people do is deal with their past trauma, because the only reason why you're wasting this energy away here, instead of just having it all like you did when you were a little kid, is because of the way that you think. And it all has to do with that past trauma that is unresolved. So if there's unresolved past trauma, you'll know because there'll be anger. You'll be angry, maybe internal. Maybe you hold it all inside. That's just as bad as we've seen from the water experiment. What is that anger, doing inside your body? Awful. You'll be resentful. And I'm telling you, this is valid. The reasons that you're thinking, the things that you're thinking, they're valid, but it's because of the perspective that you're looking at it from. So now, very often people will regress back in a session. They will have absolutely no idea that that was where they were going to go back to, or that that was so significant. People will regress back to the womb. They will go back to past lives. They will go all kinds of different places. Typically, childhood and teenage years is when most people had some type of something that was done or said to them that now has affected the way that they feel or believe. And it has caused this energy that's supposed to be full and good. Something was said, something was thought. Okay, now this energy is going to be wasted because of that trauma that happened in the past. So when I say trauma, I don't mean that somebody beat you up or did some horrible, terrible thing to you, although that could definitely be the case. What I mean is something was said. So this could be as simple as bullies in school saying something that makes you not believe in yourself or that makes you feel like you're not good enough. It will stick with you until you subconsciously release it. It'll stick with you forever until you subconsciously release it. So when you think about this experiment that we have here with Dr. Emoto, when you think about the thoughts that you have in a day, just ask yourself, what % of your energy are you wasting on negative or life stopping? Like, I don't want to get out of bed. I hope this person doesn't show up to work today. Oh, I don't want to go and do that. I don't feel like making supper. I don't want to have to do this thing. I'm too tired. I don't want to go and do. What % of your day, or the I'm not good enough, that was stupid, I shouldn't have said that. What % of your day are you wasting on that? What % comes to mind? Just whatever very first comes to mind. You're not going to be wrong about this. Okay, so if you were to take that % back, let's say it was only 17% or whatever it happened to be. Let's say it was 17%. What could you then do with that 17% if you actually had it to keep it for yourself? What could you do with it? You could do anything. What would happen if all those negative thoughts that you had that you were normally ruminating about, that were coming up, that were manifesting in your body, that you were holding on to, what would happen if you let those go? How would you feel? And what would you then begin to think about yourself? So I use this with my clients all the time. You know that saying, you'll know the truth and the truth will set you free. If you are thinking something like some negative, angry, sad, resentful thought, something like along those lines, does that feel like freedom when you're thinking it? It does not. If I was to tell you to think that thought, you could feel tension, you could feel tightness, you could feel the stress inside your body of that negative thought. The truth is the only thing that feels like freedom. It is the only thing that feels like freedom. And the truth is, you've always been good enough. You just didn't believe it. You just forgot. You've always been worthy. You've always been deserving, and you've always been loved. Even if in your physical reality, you didn't see it, you didn't feel it, you weren't shown it. And when you can align yourself subconsciously with those beliefs, which are the truth, it will completely change your life. You will have all of this energy back. It will just completely change the way that you feel mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all of the things. So be so aware of your thoughts, because we think we can think whatever we want and we're not going to have to pay the consequences for it. but that is simply not the case. You cannot escape your thoughts. You can't even send out some poisonous, hateful thought to somebody else and have it not be returned to you. So if I was to think something negative about myself, like, oh, I'm stupid. What does stupid look like? Okay. Ugh. Do I want that in my body? No. Here's the thing. If I was to think this about somebody else, they're stupid. I didn't send that to them. I'm the one that had the thought. I'm now holding that inside my body. So you can't escape the things that you think, the things that you say, and what you try to put on other people, you're actually just putting on yourself. Jesus talked about reaping and sowing, that you are going to harvest whatever it is that you're planting. Thoughts are seeds. Think of your thoughts as consciousness seeds, that whatever thought you have is a seed. Do you want to plant a seed of love? Think about the garden that you're growing in your mind, in your life. What would a beautiful garden made of love look like if you planted a garden of love? Now, what would a garden of hate look like if you planted a garden of hate? Which are you choosing for yourself? You cannot escape. And you cannot try to plant a garden of hate for somebody else and have it not immediately or at some point in the future affect you. This pertains to gossip. This pertains to criticism. You can't even criticize, condemn, complain, gossip without all of those being little seeds that you are then going to have to harvest at some point, either now, if you're very spiritually enlightened, or in the future, if you're not there yet. That all depends on how fast your manifestations come. Now, what happens when your mind is actually clear and you actually have all of this to work within a day? Then your manifestations happen today. They happen immediately, unless you've got some fear or resentment or doubt or whatever around it, which would then be taking away from this total that you have. So when you can manifest instantly, when you get to that point of you've cleared all of this stuff out, what has happened? Well, you're no longer judging or criticizing or condemning or complaining. So you're actually loving people. You're being so much more thoughtful about your own life and about the souls that are around you. So how does this change things? Okay, well, now you can manifest instantly, but do you want to do that? Once you've got to this point where you're operating out of love, the only thing that you want to manifest is things that are going to produce more of this love in the world, things that the divine consciousness, that divine would want for you to manifest, because that's all that you want, because you're operating out of a place of love. So do you want to manifest winning the lottery? Not anymore. Not anymore. Why? Because maybe that's not what is best. If it's what's best, then sure, let's manifest winning the lottery. But if it is not what is best, you won't want it. You're going to be very, very careful with the words that you speak, because you're going to know that the words that you speak become your physical, visible reality so quickly that you're not going to speak things that you don't want. So now when there's tragedies or things befalling around you in the world, or there's chaos that's going on in the world, what are you going to do? You're not going to focus on it, because focusing on it is planting seeds of that thing. And you don't want this in your life. So I would say at this point, you walk through life ignoring the things that you don't want and loving and being thankful for the things that you do want. Now, you might say, well, you can't ignore these bad things. Oh, absolutely. Yes, you can. And this is how we change the collective consciousness. There will always be people, and I shouldn't have even said that. There may be for some time people who want you to stay focused in the same world that they're living in their visible reality, and their visible reality is focused on chaos. At this point, you are recognizing now that you are a spiritual being with a soul, and you do not have to focus on what they want you to focus on, or participate, even talk about, even have any conversations that you don't want to have anymore. If you walk into a room and there's people in there and they're sitting around and they are gossiping about other people, I can guarantee you that they're also doing it about you when you leave. So here's how you can put out the good karma. Do not participate. When somebody's saying something bad about somebody else, sure, you could listen if you want, or you can tune it out. But you don't need to participate in it. And while they're sending out that critical judgment thinking, you can think of the same person and you can just imagine this heavenly light around them, and that you're just holding that good space, knowing that they're a good soul. Everybody's just going through things. Everyone's got to learn things. At some point 20 years ago, when I was a drug addict, okay, it was more than 20 years ago. No, maybe about 20 years ago. When I was a drug addict, all of the things that I have been through in my life, being a cocaine addict, having an eating disorder, having a husband who cheated on me, all of these things that I have been through in my life, I could choose to be a victim about those things. I could choose to be resentful. But no, what has happened from those things is I have developed so much compassion for every single drug addict that I meet, for every woman or a man who has ever been cheated on. It is devastating. That betrayal trauma is devastating. You know, the perpetrators, they don't realize what they're doing at the time to the person, but you can't even condemn them once you've woken up. Because had it not been for my husband doing what he did to me, I would have never got to the point where I'm at now. I would have never had this illumination in my brain, and it is your brain actually lighting up, downloading new information in your brain about how this all works, about what is all going on, and I would have never ever had that. It's just such a gift, because at the time it was not. It was terrible. I wanted to die. I didn't even see a way forward. I was so stuck. I couldn't even see a way forward because the life that I had was over. And I had had that same life for about 20 years. We were married for 18, together for about 24. I'd had that life, and I couldn't see my way out of it. I thought that this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. And it was a good 6 months of feeling like I wanted to die. I didn't want to face the public. I didn't want to face my friends. I was so embarrassed. I thought that this man loved me and that never in a million years would he ever do anything like that. So all of the emotions that you could feel, I went through it. It was awful. I became so bitter and so resentful towards that man. I couldn't even. Then I got to the point. I have 4 children. This is why I stayed for such a long time after I found out what he did. It was about 1.5 years. But through that process of suffering, there was so much good. There was so much good that came from it. I knew I needed to forgive him. So because I knew I needed to forgive him, I knew I've been studying the Christ letters for years. I knew that if I'm holding this anger and this resentment and I'm thinking about it as often as I was, which I was thinking about it all the time, that I'm then manifesting this for myself, that I'm planting these seeds. And I knew this, but I couldn't stop myself. So I need to decide whether I'm staying, whether I'm going, because my life was a nightmare at that time. So what did I do? I go up to my cabin. I said, I'll be back when I come back. I stayed up for probably 3 weeks. Within the first couple days, I had forgiven him. That was my only intent of going there, was I'm going to forgive him and I'm going to become enlightened and I'm not leaving until it happens. I'm going to connect with the divine. And I had had these little insights that had come to me before that maybe lasted for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, that were illuminating, that I knew that I was on the right path. I had the illumination, I'm getting the downloads, I'm getting all the things. And so I knew I was on the right path. So I knew that if I went to my cabin and that I set that intention that this is what I want, I knew that I would get it. I believed it with my whole heart. When I was a little kid, I could pray for things and they would happen. Like, we need the wind to stop. Okay, well, let's just pray and let's just stop the wind. And just like that, could do it because I believed it. Because I was told, you know, if you pray for something and where two or more of you come together, if you pray for something, it's going to happen. But it was my faith, it was my belief that I could do these things from the time I was little. My sisters used to be like, oh, will you pray for me for this? Will you do it? Because they felt that I had this special power. The special power that I had was belief. That was it. I see that now. And at the time I did believe, you know, God loves me more than these other people. I really did believe that, but I just believe now it's because I had more insight and other people didn't have that same insight or remembrance, maybe from a past life, whatever it was. Anyways, so I go up to my cabin. I forgive him within the first couple days. I have this illumination that comes. And I could not have been more thankful for what he did. I could not have been more thankful for what he did because I never would have got to that point that I was at had it not happened. So this negative, this perceivably negative thing that happened forced me to have to grow as a person, forced me to have to heal. And through that forcing me to have to heal and have to grow, you know, I'm putting this pressure on myself to heal and to grow because I didn't want to live in that world anymore. But through that, every good and wonderful thing came. So even these things that are perceivably tragic, that you could get stuck in for months, for years, that you could get stuck in, these are your gifts. This is your gift to you, but whether you take it and you unwrap it and you deal with the things that are in it or not are completely up to you. I know people who have been stuck. It's been 10 years since maybe they broke up with their partner or their partner left them or something like that happened, and they're still stuck in living in that world of I'm a victim to what this person did. They're not taking their power back. They are letting that other person keep it. So these things, the suffering that we go through in our life, it is a gift, but it is only a gift if you take it and allow it to be a gift so that you can learn what you can learn from it. So before this happened, I wasn't thoughtful about my life. Like, what percent of heaven am I living in? You know, what seeds am I planting today? Didn't even consider it, didn't even think of it. And now, that's what I think about all the time. What kind of seeds am I planting? Ooh, this person is talking bad about somebody else. Do I want to participate in this? Do I want to get that back on myself? No. You know, you have to be so much more thoughtful, thinking about all the seeds that you're planting, because we want beautiful seeds. I only want beautiful seeds in my life, and I have the free will to choose only the beautiful. So anyways, that's my talk today. That's why I don't even remember where we started, other than with this Dr. Emoto, and that you're holding the vibration of that in your body. Do you want to hold it in your body or not? You know, and what do you want to hold in your body? Have you ever seen somebody and they almost look like they're glowing? They've got this like bright, beautiful aura around them. Why? Because their consciousness is cleansed. They're holding nothing, no forms of resistance to the world. They're not waking up with the, ugh, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to, they're not having any resistance to anything that is going on. Whatever is coming to them, they're like, oh, wonderful. What can we do with this? You'll know those people because you'll feel very drawn to those people. Unless you are not in the growth mindset, then these people might annoy the crap out of you. Why? Because they are pointing out to you all of those things that you need to work on. All of those things. They will be a mirror for you. Anyways, I love you all so much. I only hold the best and highest intentions of pure love that I'm sending to every single one of you right now. I'm just sending you the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful love. Receive it. I love you guys. Thanks for watching my channel. If you haven't, you could like and subscribe. And you can comment below if there's any questions that you have about anything. You guys are wonderful, and I love you all so much, and I hope that you have the most wonderful day today. Love you guys.